The morning sun cast long shadows across the landing pad of New Haven Colony as Jake Morrison adjusted his diplomatic uniform and watched the alien ships descend from the sky. 3 sleek vessels with strange purple hulls touched down with barely a whisper, their advanced technology making human shuttles look like ancient relics. Jake had been Earth's ambassador to this outer rim world for 5 years, but he still felt his heart race when new alien species arrived for negotiations. The Zephyrians were tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin and silver hair that seemed to shimmer in the light. Their leader, King Vorthak, stepped from the central ship wearing robes that sparkled with what looked like captured starlight. Behind him walked his advisors, their faces cold and proud as they surveyed the human colony with barely hidden disgust. Jake stepped forward and bowed slightly, the way human diplomats had learned to show respect without appearing weak. "Your Majesty, welcome to New Haven. I am Ambassador Morrison, and I speak for Earth in these negotiations." King Vorthak looked down at Jake with eyes like frozen silver. "Human, we come seeking trade agreements for the rare crystals your people mine from this world. We offer technology and protection in return." His voice carried an odd musical quality, but there was something cold underneath it that made Jake's skin crawl. The negotiations took place in the colony's main conference room, a simple space that suddenly felt too small with the alien royalty. Inside it, the Zephyrians wanted exclusive mining rights to the quantum crystals that powered their ships, offering in return some basic medical supplies and outdated weapons technology. Jake could see they were trying to cheat humanity, but he played along, knowing that patience often revealed more than direct confrontation. After 3 hours of talks, King Vorthak suddenly smiled, and that smile made Jake more nervous than his earlier coldness had. "To seal our friendship, human, I offer you a gift from my own family." He gestured toward the door, and 2 Zephyrian guards entered, escorting a female of their species. She was beautiful in the alien way of her people, with the same pale blue skin and silver hair, but there was something broken in her posture. She kept her eyes down and moved like someone who expected to be struck at any moment. Her robes were elegant but simple, lacking the jewels and decorations of the other Zephyrians. "This is my daughter, Princess Lirana," the king announced with that same cold smile. "I give her to you as a symbol of trust between our peoples. She will serve your household and report on your colony's needs." Jake felt his stomach turn. He had heard about alien cultures that treated their women as property, but seeing it happen right in front of him was different. The princess hadn't spoken a word or even looked up, and her father was talking about her like she was a piece of furniture. "Your Majesty," Jake said carefully, "while I appreciate the gesture, humans don't accept people as gifts. Princess Lirana is welcome to stay as our honored guest if she chooses, but she would be free to leave whenever she wishes." The Zephyrian advisors exchanged glances, and Jake caught a flash of something that might have been satisfaction in the king's eyes. "Of course, human. How foolish of me to forget your strange customs. She will be your guest then, though I fear she has little value beyond what I have offered." That evening, after the Zephyrians had been shown to their temporary quarters, Jake found himself alone with Princess Lirana in his apartment. She stood by the window, still silent, still looking at the floor. "Princess," Jake said gently, "you don't have to stay here if you don't want to. I can arrange quarters for you wherever you'd be most comfortable." She looked up for the first time, and Jake saw eyes filled with years of pain and shame. "You would not be angry if I left?" Her Voice was soft, musical like her father's, but without the coldness. "Of course not. You're not a prisoner here." Lorana stared at him for a long moment. "My father told me humans were weak and foolish, but you confuse me. Why do you not take what is offered?" Jake poured himself a cup of coffee and offered her some, which she declined with a small shake of her head. "Because taking people against their will is wrong. In human culture, we believe everyone has value and the right to choose their own path. Even those who are broken?" The question came out so quietly, Jake almost missed it. "What makes you think you're broken?" Lyrana's hands clenched at her sides. "I cannot bear children. In Zephyrian society, a female who cannot produce heirs is worthless. My father gives me to you because I bring shame to the royal bloodline." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, not at her, but at the culture that had convinced this obviously intelligent woman that she had no worth. "Princess, among humans, a person's value isn't determined by whether they can have children. We value people for their minds, their hearts, their actions." She looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. "You truly believe this?" "I do. Would you like me to show you around the colony tomorrow? Let you meet some of our people and see how we live?" For the first time since arriving, Princess Lyrana almost smiled. "I would like that very much, Ambassador Morrison. Please, just call me Jake." That night, as Jake lay in bed thinking about the day's events, he couldn't shake the feeling that King Vorthak had planned this whole thing. The way he'd smiled when Jake refused to treat Lyrana as property, the satisfaction in his advisors' faces, it all felt like a setup. But for what purpose? In the guest room down the hall, Princess Lyrana sat by her window looking up at the stars. For the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten existed. Hope. This human had treated her with more kindness in one evening than her own family had shown her in decades. She didn't know what game her father was playing, but she was starting to think she didn't want to be a piece in it anymore. Tomorrow she would see this human colony and meet these people, who supposedly valued broken things. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a place where being herself was enough. The alien ships sat silent on the landing pad under the light of New Haven's 3 moons. But inside the largest vessel, King Vorthak was already planning his next move. The humans had reacted exactly as he'd hoped. Soon he would have all the excuse he needed to take what he wanted by force. The next morning brought warm sunshine and the sound of children playing in the colony streets. Jake found Princess Lyrana standing on his apartment balcony, watching human families go about their daily routines with fascination. She had changed, from her formal robes into simpler clothes he had provided, and somehow she looked more real this way. "They seem happy," she said softly, as Jake joined her with 2 cups of coffee. "Most of them are. Life here isn't easy, but people make the best of it." He handed her the cup, and this time she accepted it, sniffing the strange human drink with curiosity. "On Zephyr, our children are raised by servants in separate compounds. They only see their parents during formal ceremonies." She took a small sip and made a face at the bitter taste, which made Jake smile. "Here, families stay together. Those kids playing down there will go home to their parents tonight and share dinner and stories." Jake pointed to a group of children kicking a ball around. "Would you like to meet some of our people?" Their first stop was the medical center, where Dr. Lisa Carter was treating a young colonist who had scraped his knee. Lisa was a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and steady hands, and she greeted Lyrana with genuine warmth. "Princess, it's wonderful to meet you." Jake told me you might be interested in seeing how we care for our people here. Lorana watched in amazement as Lisa cleaned the boy's wound and bandaged it with gentle care, then gave him a small candy for being brave. You heal the children yourself? Do you not have servants for such work? We believe healing is too important to leave to servants, Lisa explained. Besides, I enjoy working with people. Each patient teaches me something new. The boy looked up at Lorana with wide eyes. Are you really an alien princess? You look pretty normal to me. Before anyone could scold him, Lorana knelt down to his level. I am from a world far away, but you are right. We are not so different. She showed him her hand, pointing out how her fingers were longer than human ones but still had the same basic shape. The boy grinned and showed her his bandaged knee. Dr. Carter says I'll have a cool scar. Do aliens get scars too? We do. Lorana rolled up her sleeve to show a small mark on her arm. I got this when I was learning to fly our ships. I crashed into a training barrier. That's awesome. I want to learn to fly spaceships when I grow up. Jake watched this exchange with growing amazement. The princess, who had seemed so broken yesterday, was actually wonderful with children, patient and kind in a way that came naturally to her. Their next stop was the engineering section, where Captain Ben Hughes was overseeing repairs on one of the colony's power generators. Ben was a practical man with calloused hands and a direct way of speaking, but he treated Lorana with the same respect he showed everyone else. Princess, Jake says you know something about advanced technology. Would you mind taking a look at this? We've been having trouble with the quantum matrix. Lorana studied the device, her expression growing more confident as she recognized familiar principles. Your people have connected the crystals wrong. The energy flows should spiral clockwise, not straight through. May I? With Ben's permission, she adjusted several connections, and the generator immediately began running more smoothly. The improvement was so dramatic that Ben whistled in appreciation. That's going to save us hours of work and increase efficiency by at least 20%. Thank you, Princess. Please just call me Lorana, and thank you for letting me help. On my world, females are not permitted to work with technology. Ben frowned. That's just stupid. Smart is smart. Doesn't matter what body it comes in. Over the following weeks, Lorana became a regular sight around the colony. She helped in the medical center, worked with the engineers, and even spent time in the schools, teaching children about other worlds and cultures. The colonists welcomed her with open arms, treating her not as an exotic princess, but as a friend and neighbor. Jake found himself spending more and more time with her, not because he felt obligated to watch over her, but because he genuinely enjoyed her company. She was intelligent and curious, with a sense of humor that had been buried under years of shame, but was slowly emerging. One evening, as they walked together through the colony gardens, Lorana stopped by a flowering tree and touched its blossoms, gently. On Zephyr we have gardens too, but they are only for display. The servants tend them and the royal family walks through them during ceremonies. No one is allowed to touch the flowers. Here, the gardens belong to everyone, Jake said. People plant what they want, tend what they love. Some folks grow food, others grow flowers just because they're beautiful. Lorana picked a small bloom and held it to her nose. Jake, may I ask you something personal? Of course. You wear a ring sometimes, but not always. Were you married? Jake touched his left hand unconsciously. I was. My wife died in a transport accident 3 years ago. Her name was Kate. I am sorry for your loss. She must have been wonderful if you loved her. She was. Kate always said that life was too short to waste time on things that didn't matter. She would have liked you, I think. They walked in comfortable silence for a while before Lorana spoke. Again. The Zephyrian delegation has been asking me questions about your defenses and technology. They want me to spy on you. Jake stopped walking. What have you told them? Nothing useful. I told them your people are kind but simple, which is what they want to hear. She looked up at him with those silver eyes. Jake, I do not wish to betray the people who have shown me such kindness. Is that wrong of me? It's not wrong at all. It's human. I am not human. No, but you have a human heart now. You care about others. You want to protect the people you've grown to love. That's what makes someone human, not the body they're born in. That night, as Jake walked Lyrana back to her quarters, she suddenly stopped and turned to face him. Jake, there is something I must tell you. My father did not give me to you as an honor. He expects me to be treated as a servant or rejected outright. Either outcome would give him reason to claim offense and take what he wants by force. What does he want? Everything. The crystals, the mining rights, control of this world. The Zephyrian Empire has grown by conquering species they deem inferior. He believes humans will be easy to defeat. Jake felt cold, despite the warm evening air. Why are you telling me this? Lyrana reached out and took his hand, her alien fingers, intertwining with his human ones. Because I have found something here worth protecting. For the first time in my life, I am valued for who I am, not what I can produce or what bloodline I carry. If my father wants to destroy that, he will have to go through me. Standing there in the soft light of the colony's street lamps, Jake realized that something had changed between them over these past weeks. What had started as diplomatic courtesy had become friendship, and friendship had become something deeper. He cared about this broken princess who was slowly putting herself back together, cared about her in a way that scared and thrilled him at the same time. Lyrana, he said softly, whatever your father is planning, we'll face it together. You're not alone anymore. She smiled then, the first truly happy expression he had seen on her face. Together, she repeated, and the word sounded like a promise. The message from King Vorthak arrived on a cold morning 2 months after Lyrana had made New Haven her home. Jake was having breakfast with her in his apartment when the emergency communications signal started blaring throughout the colony. The holographic display showed the alien king's face, twisted with rage that made his silver eyes burn like cold fire. Human ambassador, you have committed an act of war against the Zephyrian Empire. The king's voice echoed through every speaker in the colony. My daughter was given to you as a diplomatic gift, not to be corrupted by your inferior ways. She has refused to return to her duties and speaks of human concepts that poison her royal blood. Jake felt Lyrana tense beside him, her face going pale as her father's image dominated the screen. Jake, I told them I would not spy for them anymore. I did not think they would react so strongly. You will return Princess Lyrana to me immediately, the king continued, or I will consider her kidnapping an act of war. You have 7 days to comply, or I will arrive with a fleet to reclaim what belongs to the Zephyrian crown. The transmission ended, leaving Jake and Lyrana staring at the empty space where the hologram had been. Around the colony, Jake could hear people talking in worried voices, parents calling their children inside, the sound of fear spreading like wildfire. I have to go back, Lyrana said quietly. I cannot let innocent people die because of me. No, Jake's voice was firm. "You're not property to be returned. This is your choice now. You do not understand. My father commands a battle fleet with ships that could destroy this entire world. Your colony has perhaps 20 small defense vessels and a few orbital platforms. It would be slaughter." Captain Ben Hughes appeared at Jake's door within minutes, his face grim. "Jake, we need to talk. I've run the numbers and they're not good. Our intelligence suggests the Zephyrian fleet has at least 50 warships, including their flagship Sky Render, which is bigger than anything humans have ever built." Dr. Lisa Carter arrived soon after, carrying a medical scanner and looking determined. "Before we start planning for war, I want to examine Lyrana properly. There might be more to this situation than we understand." In the medical center, Lisa ran detailed scans on Lyrana while Jake and Ben discussed defensive options. The results made Lisa frown and run the tests again. "Lyrana, you said your people consider you defective because you cannot have children, correct?" "Yes. I have been examined by the best Zephyrian doctors. My reproductive system is malformed according to our species standards." Lisa pulled up the scan results on her screen. "That's interesting because from what I can see, there's nothing wrong with your reproductive system at all. It's just different from what Zephyrian males require for compatibility." "I do not understand. Your genetic structure is actually quite flexible. With the right partner, someone with compatible DNA, pregnancy might be very possible." Lisa looked meaningfully at Jake. "Human genetic diversity is much broader than Zephyrian. What your doctors called a malformation might actually be an adaptation." The implications of this discovery were staggering. If Lyrana could bear children, with a human partner, it would change everything about her status in Zephyrian society and possibly about the relationship between their species. But first, they had to survive the next week. Ben spread tactical displays across the conference. Table showing New Haven's defensive capabilities. "We have advantages they don't expect. Human tactics are different from what they're used to, more flexible and unpredictable. Plus, we're fighting on our home ground." "What kind of advantages?" Jake asked. "Guerrilla warfare, for one. Their military is built around formal fleet engagements between large ships. We can use smaller vessels, hit and run tactics, make them fight the kind of war they're not prepared for." Over the next 3 days, the entire colony transformed into a fortress. Civilians were moved to underground shelters, while every able-bodied adult joined the defense effort. The mining equipment was converted into weapons, the transport ships were armed with makeshift missiles, and the orbital platforms were reinforced with additional shields. Lyrana proved invaluable during the preparations. Her knowledge of Zephyrian, ship designs, weapon systems, and tactical doctrines gave the humans insights they never could have gained otherwise. She worked alongside the engineers, modifying human weapons to exploit weaknesses in Zephyrian armor and shields. "Their ships are powerful but inflexible," she explained to the gathered defense team. "They expect enemies to meet them in direct combat. If you can force them to fight in asteroid fields or close to the planet's surface, their larger vessels become disadvantages rather than assets." Jake found her one evening sitting alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars where her father's fleet would soon appear. "Having second thoughts? About staying? No. About what this means for my people? Yes." She turned to face him, and he saw tears glistening in her silver eyes. "Jake, by helping you fight my father, I am committing treason against my own species. Even if we survive, I can never go home again." "Is that what you want? To go home?" "Home is not a place, I have learned. It is where you are valued, where you can be yourself. where people care about your happiness." She reached for his hand. "My home is here now with you, with these people who have shown me what it means to truly live." Jake squeezed her fingers, gently. "Then we'll make sure we all survive to enjoy it." On the 6th day, long-range sensors detected the approaching Zephyrian fleet. 52 ships of various sizes, led by the massive Skyrender, a vessel so large it seemed to blot out the stars behind it. The sight of it made even the bravest colonists whisper prayers to whatever gods they believed in. King Vorthak's final transmission came that evening. "Humans, you have had your warning. Return my daughter and submit to Zephyrian rule, or face the consequences of your defiance. You cannot stand against the might of an empire that has conquered 100 worlds." Jake stood in the colony's communication center, surrounded by the people who had become his family over the years. Lyrana stood beside him, her hand in his, her presence giving him strength. "Your Majesty," Jake replied, his voice carrying across space to the approaching fleet. "Princess Lyrana has chosen to make her home among us of her own free will. We will not force her to leave, and we will not surrender our world to you. If you want a fight, you'll get one." The king's laughter was cold and cruel. "So be it, human. Tomorrow you will learn why 1,000 species bow before the Zephyrian crown." That night, as Jake and Lyrana lay together watching the stars, she whispered something that made his heart race. "Jake, if we survive this, I want to marry you. Not for politics, not for alliances, but because I love you." "If we survive this," Jake replied, "I'll marry you tomorrow." Outside their window, the first enemy ships appeared as moving stars against the darkness, growing larger with each passing hour. Tomorrow would bring a battle that would determine not just their fate, but the future of human-alien relations in this part of the galaxy. Dawn came with the shadow of alien warships blocking the sun. The Zephyrian fleet hung in space above New Haven like a dark cloud, their sleek vessels arranged in perfect formation around the massive Skyrender. From the colony's surface, the flagship looked like a small moon, bristling with weapons that could turn the entire world into dust. Jake stood in the command center watching the tactical displays while Captain Ben Hughes coordinated the defense. Around him, colonists who had been miners and farmers yesterday now operated weapons systems and defensive platforms with the grim determination of people fighting for their homes. "First wave incoming," Ben announced. 12 ships, looks like. "They're testing our defenses." The Zephyrian vessels descended in perfect formation, their energy weapons charging with an ominous purple glow. They expected the humans to meet them with their own ships in traditional space combat, but Jake had other plans. "All defense platforms hold fire until they reach the atmosphere," he ordered. "Ground batteries, prepare for close support." The alien ships entered New Haven's atmosphere like falling stars, their shields glowing as they cut through the air. At the last moment, when they were committed to their attack run, Jake gave the signal. "Now!" The planet's surface erupted with defensive fire, but not from where the Zephyrians expected it. The colonists had spent days camouflaging weapons in mines, valleys, and even inside buildings. Mining lasers modified for combat, missile batteries hidden in fake storage units, and electromagnetic pulse devices disguised as communication arrays all opened fire at once. 3 Zephyrian ships were destroyed instantly, their pilots caught completely off guard by the unconventional tactics. The remaining vessels tried to pull up, but human fighter craft launched from concealed positions, harassing them with hit-and-run attacks that the rigid alien formation could not counter effectively. "They're retreating," Ben reported with satisfaction. "First blood to us." But Jake knew this was just the beginning. Through the command center's main screen, he could see King Vorthak's furious face as the alien ruler realized the humans would not fight by the rules he expected. "Primitive savages," the king snarled. "You hide in dirt like insects. I will burn your world clean of this dishonor." The second wave came an hour later, this time with 20 ships and a more cautious approach. But Dr. Lisa Carter had been busy during the delay. Her secret weapon was ready. "Jake, the biological agent is loaded into the water reclamation systems the Zephyrians have been using to resupply their ships," she reported from the medical center. "It's completely harmless to humans, but it will cause temporary paralysis in Zephyrian physiology. How temporary? 6 to 8 hours, maybe longer. Long enough to even the odds." Jake gave the order, and the contaminated water was released into the supply systems the alien fleet had been using. Within minutes, reports started coming in from Zephyrian ships as their crews began collapsing at their stations. "What sorcery is this?" King Vorthak demanded over the communication channel, his own voice slurring as the paralytic agent affected his system. "It's called fighting smart instead of fighting fair," Jake replied, "something you might want to learn." With half the enemy fleet incapacitated, Jake launched the most audacious part of his plan. 3 human transport ships, hastily armed and crewed by volunteers, headed straight for the Sky Render. The massive flagship's weapons tracked them, but the smaller vessels were too fast and maneuverable to hit easily. Lyrana was aboard the lead transport, wearing a modified human spacesuit and carrying detailed schematics of Zephyrian ship systems. "Jake, I can see the docking bay. Their defensive grid is designed to stop large ships, not small craft like these." "Are you sure about this?" "My father's arrogance is his weakness. He never believed anyone would dare attack his flagship directly." The 3 ships dove toward the Sky Render like tiny birds attacking a giant eagle. Point defense lasers reached out for them, but human pilots trained in asteroid mining were used to flying through dangerous spaces. They slipped between the energy beams and crashed through the flagship's shields at full speed. Jake's transport smashed into the docking bay in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Emergency force fields snapped into place, sealing the breach, but the humans were already out of their ship and moving. They fought their way through corridors filled with paralyzed Zephyrians and confused guards who could not adapt to the humans. Chaotic fighting style. "Bridge is this way," Lyrana called, leading Jake and his team through passages she had known since childhood. "My father will be there, trying to coordinate the fleet manually." They found King Vorthak exactly where she predicted, standing over a control console while his officers lay unconscious around him. The alien ruler had managed to fight off the paralytic effects longer than the others, but Jake could see it was taking all his strength to remain upright. "Daughter," the king said through gritted teeth, "you have betrayed your own blood for these inferior creatures." "I have found my real family," Lyrana replied firmly. "These inferior creatures value me for who I am, not what I can produce for the royal bloodline." Jake kept his weapon trained on the king while Ben Hughes and his team secured the bridge. "Your Majesty, order your fleet to withdraw. You've lost this battle." Never. The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat from insects. Then you'll watch your people die for your pride. Outside the flagship's windows, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. The paralyzed alien ships were sitting targets. For human forces, while those still capable of fighting were being overwhelmed by unconventional tactics, they had no training to counter. It was Lyrana who ended the standoff. She stepped forward and placed her hand on her father's communication console, speaking in the musical Zephyrian language to the fleet. Warriors of Zephyr, I am Princess Lyrana, daughter of King Vorthak and heir to the throne by blood right. I call upon you to lay down your weapons and surrender. This battle is lost, and further fighting will only bring dishonor to our people." The effect was immediate. Across the fleet, ship after ship went silent as crews struggled with conflicting loyalties. Some continued to fight, but others began, shutting down their weapons systems. King Vorthak stared at his daughter in shock. "You claim the throne? You, who are barren and worthless?" "I am not barren," Lyrana said calmly. "Human medical science has proven that. I am capable of bearing children, just not with Zephyrian males. Your doctors were wrong, and your assumptions about my worth were based on lies." The revelation hit the king like a physical blow. If Lyrana could bear children, she was not the worthless outcast he had believed her to be. In Zephyrian law, that made her claim to the throne legitimate, and her marriage to Jake a royal union rather than a disgrace. "Impossible," he whispered. "Very possible." Dr. Carter's voice came over the communication system. "I have full medical scans to prove it. Princess Lyrana is perfectly healthy and capable of reproduction with compatible partners." Jake watched the fight go out of the alien king as the implications sank in. He had tried to rid himself of a worthless daughter and instead had given the humans a legitimate claim to royal Zephyrian bloodline. His plan had backfired completely. "The battle is over, Your Majesty," Jake said quietly. "The question now is what happens next." The great throne room of the Sky Render had been converted into a makeshift hospital, with Dr. Lisa Carter and her medical team treating paralyzed Zephyrian crew members alongside wounded humans. Jake watched in amazement as former enemies worked. Together, sharing medical supplies and offering comfort to each other despite the language barriers. King Vorthak sat in the center of the room, no longer on his throne, but in a simple chair, stripped of his royal robes and wearing plain clothes. The paralytic agent had finally worn off, but the defeat had broken something inside him. He stared at the floor, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Lyrana stood before the assembled Zephyrian officers who were still capable of movement, her posture straight and royal in a way Jake had never seen before. She wore a simple human dress, but somehow she commanded more respect than her father ever had in all his jeweled robes. "By the ancient laws of succession," she announced in both Zephyrian and human languages, "I claim the throne of Zephyr. I'm the legitimate heir, proven fertile and capable of continuing the royal bloodline. Do any here challenge my right?" General Crixon, the leader of the Zephyrian military forces, stepped forward. He was an old soldier with scars across his blue skin and silver hair streaked with white. "Princess, by law your claim is valid, but you have fought against your own people. How can we trust you to rule us?" "I did not fight against my people. General, I fought against a system that treats half our population as worthless property. I fought against the idea that might makes right, and that conquest is more important than cooperation." Lyrana gestured to the humans and Zephyrians working together around them. "Look at what we have accomplished in just one day when we stop fighting and start helping each other." Jake stepped forward to stand beside her. "General Crixon, your people fought bravely, and we have treated your wounded with the same care we give our own. This doesn't have to be the beginning of hatred between our species. It can be the start of something better." The old general looked around the room, taking in the sight of human doctors tending to Zephyrian soldiers, of former enemies sharing food and water. "Prince Consort Morrison, your people fight like demons, but they show mercy like angels. It is not what we expected from a primitive species." Maybe it's time to stop thinking in terms of primitive and advanced, Jake suggested. Maybe it's time to just think in terms of right and wrong. Over the following days, the transition of power proceeded smoothly. Most of the Zephyrian fleet accepted Lyrana's claim to the throne, though a few ships loyal to the old king departed for distant parts of the empire. King Vorthak himself was exiled to a remote agricultural world, stripped of rank, but allowed to live out his days in peace. The real changes began when Lyrana officially took the throne. Her first act as queen was to abolish the law that classified females as property. Her second was to establish trade agreements with humanity based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. Change will not come overnight, she explained to Jake as they walked through New Haven's rebuilt streets. The Zephyrian Empire spans hundreds of worlds, and many will resist these new ideas. But seeds of change have been planted. Dr. Carter's research into cross-species genetics had opened entirely new fields of medicine. The discovery that Zephyrian and human DNA could be compatible led to breakthroughs in treating diseases that had plagued both species for centuries. Captain Ben Hughes found himself appointed as the first human instructor at the new Joint Military Academy, teaching Zephyrian officers the flexible tactics that had won the Battle of New Haven. Turns out they're quick learners when they put their minds to it,